Hi guys, welcome to Bunny's Design. Oopsie. Still back with the iPad, not doing well. I've got my little book of watercolours, so I thought I would show how to make the first few pages on there. I'm just going to have to rejiggle. Oh my goodness me, rejiggle things so that I can put the iPad where I want it. So, now I have to put the iPad kind of. Oh, for goodness sake, this thing is going to drive me scatty. Throw this on the floor. So put that there. And hope. So I've got lots of different variations to show, and then some paper and so let's see if I can just put that there, and hopefully just not perfect, but never mind, we're working on it. And I just need to find this. There we go. Oh, I lost it. So hopefully I can reach out, guys. So welcome to Bunny's Designs. There we are. Uh-oh. Hopefully. There we go. So what I've got is I'm on the desk. I have the laptop and I have my Oogie, but I haven't charged the pens up. The pens are still downstairs. So otherwise I'll be able to just tap and control the laptop. So that's in theory, and I've plugged the camera in this morning and it won't connect to the iPad. So I haven't quite mastered that yet. Just have to have some breakfast. Apologies for that. But I couldn't get downstairs, so I had to wait for hubby. I had to wait for hubby for that. So I'm going to make some pages for this. And I've made this one ready to stick down. And then I found some more pages. I found a couple more pages. I'm wondering what on earth I've done. So I might rejiggle this one. I'll have a think. Because the reason I wanted this to be just pure Derwent, and I've got a funny feeling that I've put the the other two pencils that I have here, which are the Caran d'Ache Swiss and the Prismacolors. I have a funny feeling that I've made the squares that are here as well, and I've frozen, so let's see what's happening. The internet's not doing well, so I'm not sure what's going to be doing here. It might be a disaster today. I'm going to go for this one, but this one is different to my original one, whereas this is a top loading one, and I want to flip. So if I put the pages in here, it's going to drive me nuts because I'll have a flap, and I'll show you what I mean. So this is how I made the original one, and I just put the paper in. Oh, I've cut them all. The reason I've cut them all is because I did the flap. It doesn't work because it means that you've got your piece of paper like this and you lose the other side of the page. So I decided that I'm going to cut round these like I did with these. So I'll show you how I did that. And hopefully I've got my ruler and my blade to do that, because I don't think the guillotine is going to be good enough, and I have no idea what that sound was. Absolutely. No idea what that sound is. I do need to charge my phone, but I don't want it to be so near that it's going to go off. So let me just see if I can swizzle and do this little job here. And I have to have these in a minute as well, so I must remember those because terrible at remembering. Right, 30 seconds, and I'm taking quite a few supplements. I shall be bottling around with that one a bit later. And we have the Alfie asleep on the bed. We have an Alfie monster. So let's bear with me. I don't know where I put those pencils. I think I know where I put them anyway. So I have one or two drawers and some watercolours up into this room, but still not organised yet. So you've got to decide what size you want. So I used, this is my little book of watercolours. Now I did manage in the original to get 600 squares, and each square has at least 10 shades, so that's 6,000 colours to touch and go without mixing and without doing anything else. And the reason I put them in here was I was going for 1,000. And my idea was that if we could get Derwent to make 1,000 colours, their little watercolour book would be 10,000 shades. So I'm still working on that. So I thought, I've got Derwent watercolour pencils, I've got Derwent, I've got the Caran d'Ache Neocolor 2s, I've got the Prisma watercolours. Now I do like the Derwents, but I'll do a bit of a, I put them in here, and then the other one is a Swiss one, and that was the box that fell over, which wasn't a good idea. And the reason I did that was in this pencil case here, and apologies for this silly chair, and I have to do it every week, and it drives me insane. Just goodness me. So in here I have my Derwent watercolours. This is a PU, or it's a BTSKY fake PU leather pencil case, and this particular one is slightly smaller, and it holds 160 or 180 pencils. The bigger one that has it has 3 sleeves. Does it have 4 sleeves? It has 4 sleeves, and it doesn't have them on this side. This has got some slightly bigger ones at this end, so you can put pencil sharpeners. I put my watercolour paintbrushes in there. And it took quite a while, but what I did, I incorporated the Prismacolors and the Caran d'Ache Swiss, because I put them in colour order, and then I used them in here as well. So I've got the Derwents and I've got the other 2 sets as well. But when I'm Bible journaling and colouring, I only like the Derwents, the Derwent watercolour pencils, excuse me, because they don't go through. Excuse me. So welcome to Bunny's Designs. If there's anybody watching, please say hi, because I don't get paranoid then. So I decided this, but there's a reason I must not be getting on with this, and I think it's because it's square, and anything sharp I tend not to want to use. And I thought I would love this because it's just really nice, and it's got lots of colours, but I tend not to be using it anymore. Whereas the original one, which was the it was the photo album with 25, it was half the size of this, so it had 25 of these, but it was top loading, and I hadn't realised when I bought all these, so these are absolutely useless now, but never mind, I've put photographs in them, I suppose. The principle is the same. I'm not going to be using it this way up. I'm going to be using it this way. But as I say, the other one I just made the pockets was a lot easier. Now I haven't got one handy because they are hidden somewhere and they still haven't emerged into this room. This one I'm going to cut down each page, so it gives me a flap. Now I'm not very neat. This one's horrible, and I didn't like this one because it's dark, but obviously when you get your 2 pages, sorry, it's my alarm, sorry guys, it's my alarm. When you get your paper there with your colour, it's not going to look quite so bad, and that would be a nice size to put the pages on, and most of them have got 6. I think I'm going to go back to 6, This is, so that's, I bought these at the model show. These are vintage, but they've got quite a nice kind of edge. I've got sticky on there now. Have I cut this one? I haven't cut this one yet. But again, I'm going to cut this one and use it so I've got quite a few pages, because I do like this plastic. I like this plastic because it's a vintagey one. It's nicer plastic even than this one. I don't really like the plastic on this one, but I'm going to try and cut it a little bit neater. So I thought instead of cutting it with scissors, I'd cut it with this. So that's the reason I have all these colours in here. There's 36 of the Swiss and 36 of the Prisma. Now they're all very, very similar. They're all the same creamy consistency. The new Derwent pencils are slightly different. If you notice, these are the vintage set. And what I ended up doing is putting all the flesh tones there, and then going from, sorry, I went not in my usual light to dark colours. And I just thought there was some, I don't think any colour is identical. So that gave me 144, I think, 154 watercolour colours in there. So I've got 154 in here that I don't have to do anything with, just touch and go. So some are quite similar. Now the Swiss ones don't colour their number theirs, so I've just had to put Swiss. But if we look, although there's 3 kind of pale greens, they're all slightly different. I don't think any of those are identical. But as I say, for the Bible journaling one, the little tiny one that I want to put in my little Bible journal bag, and again, when you get the colours, so you've decided what colours you want, you've put them all in there. I probably am going to use my original set because they're slightly creamier, but I have tested. I did have a bigger thing to go on that zip, and that's why it's difficult for me to hold. Put a tag on there. So this one, so when you decide what you want to do, because it has the flaps, because I've cut each page up, so that was the original, keep these in order, that was the original photograph page where you put your photograph in there and then you put your photograph in there. So I've cut all the way around. That looks quite neat actually, even for me, that one. And then I've put, and because we have the actual page in between, I don't need to put a photocopy piece of paper. I just need the extra wet sketchbook paper with the colour on it. The same was the next one. So in between the next one, what we've got is we've got where there would be a photograph there and a photograph there, we have 2 plastics. And it would be a waste. So I've got back to back 2 colours, and I'm going to stick that in there so that I've got the browns with a colour in between to protect them. Now these are slightly bigger, these, so I might put these in this one and redo this one. I might put those in this one for my daughter. I think they might fit better actually. Yeah, and then I've got, if I put that there and put that there, I can name them and do a colour swatch. And because these squares are so much bigger, they'll last a lot longer. So I think I'm going to do that, because this particular one, I do want it to be fairly neat. As I say, these squares are fairly big. They're big enough, so I might go back to my original little 6 squares, because as it happens, the way Derwent have it is there's the colours sit quite nicely 6. So we've got the 6 yellows, 6 oranges, 6 reds, 6 pinks, 6 purple blues, 6 blues there, pale blues, greens, dark greens and olives, fawns and browns, red browns, greys, and that works quite well for me. And you have, I think you have 12 pages. So even if you had a thin book, there's 72 squares there, but each square has 10 shades. So there's 72 representation of the Derwent watercolor pencils, but there's 720 shades and tones, because each square gives you at least 10 shades. So we've got very strong, medium and pale. And that's without mixing 2 together, because the paper palette, and this is why I don't like this one, if you're talking about this one, you have a plastic palette between every single page, so you can mix colours as well if you want to. So potentially you've got millions of colours in there, even if you only have the 72. But the reason I want the nice one for the Bible journaling is because the Derwent watercolour pencils, when you use them with a barely damp brush, a rigger, no watercolour brush, just a rigger, barely damp, with the Derwent watercolour paper palette, you don't go through your Bible pages. And that's another thing that I don't want to be gessoing, I don't want to be messing about. All I want to do, and I did this the other day, this is slightly thicker, but this page here was done with Derwent watercolour pencils as a watercolour, but it was done, I think it was done with oh, hi Donna, welcome to Bunny's Designs. Welcome back, Donna. Hope you're okay. Donna, sorry, I beg your pardon. Brain's not in gear. Thank you. Oh, I'm supposed to be looking at chat and it's right in front of me, but I'm actually screwing my head around looking at the iPad, which is a bit daft, isn't it? So, oh, hi guys, welcome to Bunny's Designs. So I'm having a bit of a waffle about this. So of course, when you get to your Bible pages, they are quite thin. And as I say, I can't gesso pages. I can't be bothered with a hairdryer, especially with my headache at the minute. I just want, I'll show you how I use it in a bit. I just want to be able to have this little book full of colours. I want to have my little damp rigger and a little small, and it was a tiny, tiny little watercolour pot that I use, almost like a miniature. And I just want to watercolour. And the only thing I did is when it's bigger, and I did that the other day as well, this is my design that I'm using for the other Bible journals, so I've got some lettering. I designed this when I was 16. And so I use it for quite a lot of things as well, actually. It's always kicking about this pattern. And even the apple, they show through, but they don't go through. And I love that. And that is a very strong red. But what happens is, and I think that's what happened there, when I'm flicking in this book, I flick and I flick onto the Derwent Inktense pencils by accident, and when you think in colour you're not thinking, I'm just flipping, and what I've been doing is flipping onto this and using these, and I've done it, and I think that's why I did it and it went through. But the watercolour Derwents, as I say, I did that one, and that's my favourite one, which is Geranium Lake, I think it is. So Geranium Lake is a very strong colour, and all that is Geranium Lake, and you can't see it. And there's no, as I say, there's no hairdryer. The minute, the reason you can do this is I have a few videos, and I will be showing you how to do this on the new channel, Bunny's Bible Designs, is you're using a barely damp brush. And literally, as soon as you stroke the colour, you can see it go from shiny to dull. It has about 2 seconds at the most before it dries. And that's why it works, because, again, this is why I invented watercolouring, for colouring in a Bible on any page, and that's why it works in your colour books, because there aren't many colour books that are this thin. So there's no gesso, there's no coating with anything. It's just a simple Bible page that you turn, you read the scripture, and then you colour or you do whatever you want to do. I did iron this page. I think there's a video of me ironing. I have a little travel iron, which of course we don't use anymore because normally people have travel things. And I think it was that page that I ironed. That was my first attempt, and if you can see, it creased a little bit, but actually it's fine. It's a beautiful watercolor effect. Hope it's coming through. It's a lovely watercolor effect on a Bible page, so I don't mind a little bit of crinkle, but if you can iron the page. Obviously you don't use a steam iron, and I made from a broken plastic file, I made a piece of plastic, but in my new Bible, which of course isn't handy because I was doing it downstairs, and bless him, hubby's running up and downstairs carrying things, so I feel a bit guilty. Where's my other Bible? It's just not handy. In my other one, oh thank you darling, downstairs there's I could give you that then. There's that little what do you call it, it's a little wash basket, but I use it with my Bible in it. It's purple. Thank you darling, but there's no rush. Thank you darling. So that's the box for this one. So when I went to Bangor in Northern Ireland, there's a shop called the Faith Mission. I think there's half a dozen in Scotland as well. Oh, hi Katrina, welcome to Bunny's Design. Hi Melody, hope everybody's well. Welcome to Bunny's Designs. So this will be on Bunny's Bible Journal channel, and I'll be showing you how to iron your pages if you do get some crinkles. But the reason I'm making the little book is it's small. It will just have my Derwent watercolor pencils, and then I don't flip over into the Inktense, because as I say, I think that one was the Inktense, that pink. Easy done. I'm always flipping about. But as you can see, those very, very dark berries, that's Derwent watercolor pencil. You can't even see it through. It would be up there. You can just see it through, but when I put the page, you can just see it. So you can see it, but it doesn't go through. The same with those. And I also have my other book. So I did manage to find a Bible with some extra wide margins and no lines. So I was hoping to do a general colour with this one and kind of copy the theme, but then I just decided to do a practice. So the other Bible will all be my flower design. So that's the reason for making 2 of these. And also I will be filling this one full, and I'm hoping to get 1,000 colours in it. Whereas this one, obviously, I only want the Derwents, because even the Neocolor 2s will go through if you use them even from a paper palette. And I do have some layout paper, which is very thin. And the layout paper, that's what I make my books from, which again is downstairs. I'll show next week about papers. There's something called layout paper, and it's very, very thin. It looks and feels like this, and like the Chinese thin Hobonichi. So I made a fake Hobonichi with the paper, and that's how I got to be working with a barely damp brush. I mean, it took me 2 years to perfect this, and I've used every brush in between. Apologies for the nails, my daughter's not done them today. And I have a hospital appointment this afternoon, so it's going to be a short, I'll have to finish about 12 o'clock because I have a hospital appointment this afternoon. Has to be the stream day. I have got a camera that I can record on now, so that's quite good. I just couldn't get it to talk to my iPad this morning. But I like to show this because it proves that you're working from a paper palette. You can work on, and my colour books hubby's bringing them up, you can work on any colour book page when you perfect this, because there are some pages that we love, but having to use pencils, and as you know at the moment pencils are out for me at the moment, so I really need to get my act together and to get things just nice. So have you got any questions? Haven't missed anybody. Have I missed anybody? So as I say, and it's a lovely peaceful way to work, and I think that, I mean, I might be just odd, but when I'm Bible journaling and when I'm reading the Bible, I don't want a hairdryer blowing. I don't want a lot of stinky paints. I just want to kind of be quite meditative and quite quiet, and I just have, as I say, a little bit of a wipe to get the brush twisted to a barely damp state, touch, colour and go. And you can do that. And again, they're not strong in your face colours. It's a watercolour effect, and that's what I want. I think I just like the idea of fairly kind of, I just like the idea of watercolouring in a Bible, because, you know, people say, oh, you can't do that because of this. I mean, even the butterfly that's very dark, you can't see it. And I just love these lovely soft, and again, it's just a really nice way to work. You are just gently touching the page, and it's very kind of not mindless, but it's a de-stressing thing. Again, I don't think, if you're worried about going through pages and you're worried about colours, bright colours, and not being able to see the words to read them, I think it's too much stress. And I don't think Bible journaling, again, should be a kind of too stressful situation. But everybody's different. Everybody's different. I just like to be a little bit creative with my colours, but in a gentle way, if that makes any sense. So if you've got any questions, pop them in caps, and then I know you're talking to me, guys. So again, thanks for stopping by. Thanks for watching. So this particular little book here is my Creative Bible. I've been neglecting this quite a long time. And again, I'm a bit of out of sight, out of mind girl. So these will be right in front of me so that I will be able to think, right, I'm going to be doing things in order. Now, I did have a request. I'll come to that later. So we'll get to this book. So let's see if we can cut this book open. And of course the photocopy paper is all downstairs. Now the only other magic thing you need is this. And I'm having a lot of difficulty getting hold of this because I can't get to a shop where they sell it. It's in Manchester, but I'm hopefully going to ask my daughter to bring me some back. So this is Sea White of Brighton, acid-free 140 GSM, extra wet strength. That's the magic. If you put these, for goodness sake, don't use watercolour. Two reasons. One is it's expensive. And the other reason is watercolour paper is designed to suck up water and suck up colour and hold it. And we don't want to do that. What we want to do is to coat the top of a paper that's going to allow us to wet it and pick the colour up. And then when it's dried, like now, as I say, if you've used this, do not do this. You have to wait a few days or even a week would be better. But let's say this is pale vermilion. This is why you need extra wet strength. So pale vermilion, I think, would be, what number are we on? Number 13. It's vermilion, so it should be here. Pale vermilion is number 13. And the reason I label them, and I have the colour swatch is really important because when you get colour from the end of the pencil, you have this colour. You don't have anything else. If you water it down, you might get that colour. But when we use it from a paper palette, we've got all these colours, these tones from one pencil. So the reason I label it is I've got pale vermilion. Now, as I say, I haven't used this. If I'd have used this and I did this, it would damage the paper. But because I've let it dry, you normally 2 or 3 coats. I go that way, and then I go that way, and then I go that way. Now, when you see dust, and I don't sharpen my pencil, so I have a lovely soft round facet, so I'm not scratching into anything. And then if you can see now, if I can get the shine on there, see if I can get the shine. You see the shine there? That is now completely coated again, like a new square. But that paper has been in there for a while now, and my other one was in 5 years. As long as you let it dry before you revamp your colours, and you could sit and do this at the television, get your pencils out and just go through each one. Some I've used more. The cedar green I've used quite a lot with the cedar green. You just go through and recolour them, and you'll make them all brand new again for another few months. So it's refillable, and that's the beauty of it. But that only works on extra wet strength. Now, some people call it sized, but really it needs to be extra wet strength. And the other way to tell is a sketchbook will say it's for ink and pencil work and drawing. If it says light watercolour, and it's not, it's a sketchbook, but it says light watercolour or sized or seized for watercolour, extra wet strength, it means you're allowed to do a gentle wash. And if you can do a gentle wash, that will be fine. Test it and see. But again, I love the fact this is a very large piece, very large size, A3 I think. Yeah, A4, 2 A4s is an A3. So it's got 40 pages, it's got 20 sheets. And it's 297 by 420 millimeters. And let's convert that. Oh, I can't. Oh, yes, I can. So it's about 12 by 30. 13, 14, 15, 12 by 17 roughly. But it's in the UK it's called A3. And the reason I buy that one is it's a very good sketchbook size, and you can do sketchbooks, and it's a lovely paper. I love it. But it also, you can cut it down and you can get quite a few squares from one sheet. And it's £2.60, so it's a lot better. But for goodness sake, do not use watercolour paper. The only time I use watercolour paper is when I put my watercolours, the tubes, I squeeze tubes out of it, and I use a postcard. I was showing you that on one of the last in the series of how to put different colours in. So the series I'm going to make with the book is, first of all, making the book, making the pages, making the squares. So you've got to decide, do I buy a new photo album? Photo albums are better because they'll never fall to bits unless you tear them to bits, and they are ready-made, and a lot of them are quite pretty. So and if you can find a vintage one, quite nicely made. I mean, you can buy leather ones. If you really wanted to go to town, buy a beautiful leather photo album and use that, because there's nothing nicer than having a beautiful little watercolour. I mean, we spend fortunes on these. It says she can't put a hand on it. Oh dear, where is it? I have all my art materials right next to me. And I was actually going to buy a new one, then I remembered I've got this. So we've got some beautiful little watercolour things. So why not have a beautiful little leather one? Now, obviously, when it's something like this that you put your pans in, this is for a lot of watercolour. So if you were going out sketching and you were doing a big watercolour sketch, you might want something stronger than this. But this is for colour books, a watercolour effect, a little sketch. But obviously, if you're doing something with a lot of water, then you want your traditional. See, I can't open these very well. You want your traditional one. I will be refilling these as well, and I'm looking into making my own watercolours. I've been looking at pigments, and because now lots of pigments are safer, they've got rid of all the nasties. You can, I might actually decide to make. I was looking at what my lemon yellows were, so I think when I do the colour section and all about colours, I'll be making my own paints. And I will be filling the pans up with my colours. So if you've got any questions, guys, pop them in caps, and then I know you're talking to me. That's popped out, you see. I decided to take them out, and then I decided to put them back in again. So in here I've got my peerless, which you can make to any size. And I do have a book, which I'm going to alter, and I'll ask Kobe to bring it up. Yes, that's it. I'm going to put the peerless in a different one, but again, purely the fact that they're in here to make up the 1,000 squares. This has lasted me a long time. The only two that got a batting was when I did the roses for the horse, and I used one colour, and that one is the one. But I'd used it. They've been in here for about 5 or 6 years, my original ones. So again, you know, they last. But of course, you can't redo that. But when they come in this size, and I just can't open that now. You get probably about 10 squares this size when you buy the peerless. So you've got 10, you know, at least 5 years. I've got 5 years out of one of them. And again, these are vivid colours, definitely not for the Bible pages. So the other thing about the Bible pages, if you don't put any kind of any kind of gesso or size or anything on your pages. It's just you and the page. It's the watercolor and the page, and there's something magical about that connection that you don't get if you coat anything, because of course your brushes will wear out. If you've got any kind of coating on your paper, your brushes won't last as long, and you've got a friction there because you've got something in it. I think I've got 120 Neos, and I'm going to extend that and show you how to extend so many colours into hundreds of colours with the Neos. So I may again put those in a separate little one, because my idea was originally I wanted them all in one, but because now I don't go away anywhere, I don't go anywhere, now I want like a little library. So I'll have my Neos, and I bought 5 of these. I've got my Neos, then I'll have my watercolors, pencils, and then they're all going to be like this. And the other one will be Peerless. I put the Peerless in another one. So again, when I want the one I want to work in Peerless, I just pick that one up. I still will have one with them all in, because I'm just that way. I can't help myself. I think I'm going to give this one to Amy. Because she'll be finishing uni, and she always likes to sketch in watercolour, so always going to be handy. And I think I'll make one for Sam, because she's starting to put a bit of colour in her work as well. So you can put in what you've got. You may only have pencils, as long as it's good quality water-based products. So I think the full set of the Peerless are about £50–60. But they will last you forever, and they are kind of really in your face. So you need to kind of, even just doing this dot here to make the swatch, there's still tons of colour on here. So again, if you want to go pale, you want to be where you've been before. If you want a stronger colour, then you want to go somewhere else. And you'll see, you know, this is my original set. The original squares from the original set, and they have really been used a lot. If you've seen any of my colour book pages with Peerless, these are the squares I've used. I've not used Peerless anywhere else, and I've done quite a few pages with Peerless, quite a few. And again, that's a lovely thing. If you have a colour book where you want, like the Kirby, you want really strong colours, I've got them here. If I want a Bible journal colour, I've got them here. The only problem is, as I say, I flick. Even though I've labelled them, I tend to flick into the Inktense pencils. The Inktense ones are strong as well. The Neos are there. The Graphitint are there. And there's a lovely, about 4 different pages I've done with the Graphitint. Absolutely adore the Graphitint. I could colour one book in just in Graphitint. Absolutely love those. There's 24 in the set, and again they're there. I used to have the Gansai Tambi watercolours. They'll be going back in there, as will all my professional watercolours. They'll all be going into my little book. So have you got any questions? So let's see if we can destroy one of these. See if we can destroy one of these. Again, you can decide what book you've got. You want the extra wet strength paper. It's got to be smooth, and it's definitely not watercolour paper. So we've got our book. The next thing to decide is what size squares. Now I thought I'd be really greedy and do a big square because it'll last me longer. But these have lasted me quite a long time. And if you do tend to use one colour more than another, you can just scratch the colour in like I did. So I like the 6. I think I like the 6 rather than the 2. I I think I'm pretty sure that I like the 6. So again, although that would be wonderful, and I could go out and do some watercolour sketches with this, because obviously now I've got a lot more colour. One thing I couldn't do though is keep wetting the paper, because it doesn't mind being wet a little bit, but when you're wetting and rubbing, you have to decide it's still sketchbook paper. So the next thing to decide is what size squares do you want. I think 6 actually is my fave, and the 6 was inspired by the Peerless. And again, I've made a bigger section with the Peerless and I don't like it, so I think I like, again, I got the ochres, I got the greens, I got the blues, the turquoises, I've got the purple and purple blues, pinks, reds, orangey reds, bright yellows. So again, the 6 seem to work well. And again, if most sections, it's quite nice. There are some fawn and browns. I think there should be 6 of those as well. I did pull them all out because I was moving them around, so that's why they're not actually stuck in there. Do I paint? When I say paint, how do I? For which ones do I paint the colours, Dana? When you say, do I just paint thick layers? For which ones? Oh, hubby's got me a hot lemon. I'm having hot lemon on the morning, and I find that that's a lot better for me as well. The one I did for the I don't use that on the paper. I can't find it. Oh, wait a minute, is that it? That might be it. No, it isn't. There is a very early video, and I did it at 3 o'clock in the morning, with the Gansai Tambi watercolours, and I used puddles of colour. But when I put the tubes, I just kind of, oh, found another one, look. I just squish out. I can't find it. I can't find the little thing. It's all together in a box, and I don't know what I've done with it. But what you would do is you get not this paper for those, because they're already wet. That I used. You can get postcards which are watercolor. They're like little watercolor postcards, and they're quite stiff, and that's the one that I sat into the front. So when you see my original videos, at the front of the watercolor book, you will see there is a postcard, and it's got squares. And what I was trying to do for the giveaway was to cut, and I might find them actually, was to cut these. But you mustn't do this, because I've been using a scalpel for over 40 years, and I nearly lost my fingers. But that was my idea, and they've all sealed back together again now, is to cut them up. But you can't do it. It's impossible. How I didn't lose my fingers, I don't know. So my giveaway was a complete pants failure, because I just could not cut these colours up. I did about 3 and then realised that after nearly slicing through my hands 4 times, could not do it. They just did not want to slice. So it doesn't work. But what you can do is not use the pans, but use the tubes. Now if I can show, this is very similar. It's not that one. And you know this is about the right amount, and then you can probably get on that square, you probably get quite a few little blobs of colour. So you want a couple of yellows, a couple of reds, a couple of blues, a couple of greens, a couple of browns. And I made all these from 3 colours, and the only one that's not Brin is the purple, because purple is not a brilliant one to make. I made French ultramarine, unless that's the one I had too. It's looking like I made it out of 6, actually, tell a lie, because if you can see the swirl on that one, you can see the swirl on that one, and you can see that these are thinner. So I think I might have had lemon yellow, cadmium yellow, Elysian crimson, French ultramarine, and cerulean blue. I normally pick those 6 colours, and the reason is because if you don't have French ultramarine, purples are a sausage to make. But in the original, I just used the printer inks, which is a lemon yellow. It's quinacridone magenta, but it's all Elysian crimson I prefer, and cerulean blue, or cyan, I think they call it. So when I've finished all the books, I will be putting my watercolours into there. But I say because it's not complicated, but you need to do it in a certain way in order for you not to waste your paints. So it's easier to do it as a video, and you can actually see it, if that makes any sense. But they've got to be fairly good quality. But student grade Cotman are fantastic, and I've just bought some more as well. But as I say, that was my idea, was to put some of these paints in there. But do not try that at home. As I say, I've been using a scalpel blade for over 40 years. We were taught when we first went to art school when I was 16. Oh, it is 40. Yeah, it is 40 years then. It's more than 40 years. Oh my goodness. So we've decided what paper to use. We've decided what size we're going to make. We've decided what squares we want. Now we have to decide what orientation's easier. Now, I must admit, even though this book is this way around, and again, you've got to think about this before you make your book. Because if you make your book and you're not happy with it, you're not going to use it. So this book is supposed to be this way round, but I like to sit and flick. And again, probably because this one sits flat and has always sat flat, maybe I like it more than I like this one, because it's never actually perfectly flat. It doesn't shut, even though it's got tons in it, but so there's something about this particular one I'm not happy. I think it's this. Just do not like this. But you know, it was an experiment. It was £3.50. But I bought this, but again, I didn't realise that the plastic was, I was going to have to cut it. So let's have a bit of a cut and see what we can do. So now I need my scalpel blade, and I have an awful feeling. Where was that white? I don't think I have a new blade. Have a look. I do have my trusty Stanley, which was one of the pencils, one of the things we used. Now this one should have, yeah, that's got a new blade on it. I was taught to sharpen a pencil with a scalpel blade. That doesn't look particularly sharp. The only good thing about this is you can put it away and nobody can get into it, because it's quite difficult to open. So that's the only advantage of one of these. They're brilliant for that, I have to say. Brilliant for that. But I can move that out of the way. And you've got to remember to use a metal one. If you use plastic, you'll just trash the sides. So we want the metal edge. Now, I can only probably do one or two of these. See, I used to get the scalpel blade and slice it that way, but it doesn't do it neater. So let's see if we can just take off a smidgen to release that page. because I would like to keep the page as much as possible. And of course the light says can't see what I'm doing. And the other reason is my hands don't work pretty well. Can't see what I'm doing, guys. All right. Again, you've got to be able to see what you're doing, because if you make a mess of it, you're not going to like it. And slow, steady is the order of the day. Very little pressure. And we've done that one. Very little pressure, that's what we need. Now you could do it with some tall scissors, but I can't find my tall scissors. When I say tall scissors, I mean big scissors. And again, always remember, even if this is going to slip, it's not going anywhere. And I'm not forcing it. I'm just gently, like I was just cutting a vegetable, not a steak. And then, again, fingers out the way. And always put the knife down before you start doing anything. For goodness sake, don't start doing this when you've got this in your hand, because this will do a lot of damage. So put that down. And we haven't got Bungle upstairs, so we're all right. But if Bungle was here, I'd be a bit scared. So now that's come open, and what I need to do now, and I had one earlier, is a bone folder. And I did this on every page on the original. Is creased it where I wanted it. So now I've got, oh sorry, I don't know why I was doing that. Oh, of course, what we have is we have a middle. Oh, of course we do. So that's thicker, and then this is thinner. So actually it's thinner. So what we have here now is we have a page. So what will happen now is and now the other thing I do is if I put that one, that's the first one, so I would put that one there, and then I would put the next one here. But that means that I've got some there and some there. So what I have done is put the first one that way and the second one that way. So I've got the plastic between, but what it means is that when I've got the page open, like I have the original open, I've got all my blues, I can see them all. Whereas if I, and the same with the yellows, I didn't put the yellows here, I put the yellow there, so I've got all my yellows. Otherwise, because of the way the Derwents are, there are 12, so obviously I'd have half the yellows there, half the yellows there, then I would have the oranges on the other page. So again, that's another thing to think about. How many colours have you got? The Neos are the same. The Neocolor 2s are the same. So I had the yellows and the oranges. Then I had the orange reds and the pink reds. I had the pinks and the purples. So again, that's another thing to think about a bit further down the line, but you want to think about how you want to see them. So when I open that, if I want a red, I don't know what kind of red, I've got a choice of looking at those. If I just had them odd, I'd only have a choice of 6, but because I've got them together, I've got a choice. And I might look and go, I like that one and that one. I go, actually, I want that one, because sometimes there's not much in them. You know, that probably should be up there if you were doing them in colour order. I think I was trying to do them in number order. So the scarlet is actually in between, so that's a really good colour. So again, I wouldn't have seen that red if it had been just on 6 pages. So again, it's another thing to think about. It's another thing to think about. So again, I've now got the 2 yellows, and then when I flip it over, now this is where we have a gap, because obviously this is where we would have had 2 photographs, and this is where we have, I didn't realise, but of course, yes, I should have seen, look. There's, so this is where we've got another 2 photographs. But of course, in between, we've got a plastic and we've got a plastic. So when we've got that, what we have to do is put 2 together. Now, probably the best way to do that is to glue the, and this is what I will do in the first video, is glue the paper, because you can stick the paper with sellotape, flip it over, stick it with sellotape, and you'll have a lovely plastic removable hinge. And then what you would do then is you'd stick that one on that one and stick that one on that one. But you would finish your page first. Obviously mine will look slightly different. Oops, put it the right way around. So then I've got that one there. Oh, I'll have to rethink that. Why is that going like this? That one goes like that. Oh, and then I need one behind there. Yeah, I need one behind there, look like that. You see, I've got an extra 4 because I've got the extra page. So I've actually got an extra 2. So in between each one of these, so again, you see the oranges, flip it over, see the yellows. It's because I've got an extra page, that's what's thrown me. Then we've got the one that doesn't have the plastic, so then we have to put a page in, and then we've got plastic, and then we start again. So out of one sleeve that would hold 2 photographs, I've got 6. I've got 6 colours, and that is, as long as I don't put the paper between every single one, because I don't need to, it's going to bulk it out, but it is designed to be bulked out with photographs anyway. So again, that's another reason not to use watercolour paper, because you're going to fit that out. Did that make sense, guys? Now, the reason I'm flopping about like a whale is I thought I'd got all this sussed and I haven't. And again, that's another thing, you get a surprise, like I've got this extra sleeve in the middle that I haven't realised. So that one, so actually, yes, so I don't want to put one at that side. Now I'm going to leave the first page. So I had my watercolors on the first page and the last page, because when it's flat I had my watercolors, and when it was flat I had my watercolors. And I wish I could show you. See, this is the problem with not having everything. It's difficult because you're talking about something you can't show, and it's not really that brilliant. I'll find it. I'll find it. So I'd start on the next one in. I'm going to leave one at one end and one at the other, and then fill the middle. So again, another job to do while you're watching telly is to slice all these up. I wouldn't do more than one at a time. Again, I just do not like 2 colours, because it's not, it's like seeing half your paint palette at once. But I was in not a greedy mode, but I thought I'd do the biggest squares possible. Oh no, hang on a second. Hang on a second. Right, so again, this is a better way, gentle, and if it slips, it's going to go straight past you. Pop that down, and it was another little slither. So yeah, we've got slightly thicker. I do have some of the other books, so I will probably, I think, make this one the big one. So again, just slow and steady. So actually that's a lot neater, so I'm quite happy with that. So thanks guys for popping by. Alfie's been so good, but of course there's no distractions, there's no cats. So he's been a good boy. Can't do all this guys because it's so boring for you, but again you've got to be quite comfortable. And the other thing is, with the scalpel blade, you don't have to press down. Because it's so sharp, it just glides across. It's very similar when you're cooking. If you've got a sharp knife, it's very rare you actually cut yourself because you don't need to push down as much. And of course this is just a little bit of a plastic. So again, I should have put that down before I put the knife down before I messed about. And the other thing is, you must never press down when you have a scalpel blade because the end might snap and fly. When my daughter's using scalpel blades, I always make them wear, well, one of them wears glasses anyway, but I always make them wear safety glasses because I have broken several and they've flown in my hair. So if you're not particularly knife orientated, please use a pair of scissors. And it's not particularly big. Now you can make a bigger size of this, and I have seen, I bought an A5. I bought an A5. Oh dear, I made a bit of a mark. No, oh no, I'll just ignore that. If you want a thinner book, and that might be a good idea. I'll show them when I do the video. I'll make sure I've got everything. So imagine this to be an A5 size. You have half as many pages, but the same amount of space. So you could use that and it would slip quite easily in the back of a colour book. So that would be quite good because then it's not small and bulky, it's big and thin. And it would go probably with any book. So we've got another page. So again, and really a bone folder would be better. And then when you've got your bone folder, you realise that the pages just flip. Now they will sit. And again, when you're making a book, always remember that when you are attaching your page or your book, you don't shove it all the way in because you want a little bit of a hinge. You need a bit of leeway, just a couple of millimetres. And the big pages always do that. Now, the way mine were, but I think I'm going to change them. My original one is when I put the page in, which is this size, and the reason I use this size is this is photocopy paper. But once you've put a piece of colour on each side, the sketchbook, extra wet, you've got quite a decent page. So you don't want another thick page in between. And you will find this will last. It never falls out. And so I get a piece of photocopy paper and I cut it into 4. Because A4 into 4 makes A6. And you will find that this is, I think, 6 by 4. Yeah, if you look at the page, it's 6 by 4 because it's for 6 by 4 photocopies. But my photocopy paper is slightly smaller. But what that does is it leaves a lovely little strip here. And what I used to do with this strip on the original one, so if you see an original video from about 2 years ago, you'll see I have them all named on the slit there, so it doesn't matter where you're looking at them, you can flip to the exact one you want. And again, I didn't do that with this one, and I think I miss it. I missed the fact I did the Neos and I did the Peerless, but I didn't have it lovely and neat. And I think that's another thing. When I looked like this, I could see all the colours I wanted. I could just do that. So what I'm going to do with this one is, with that extra space, I will be on the middle one, not on the outside one, but on the middle one, putting pink, red. And then it's completely, the big set is completely labelled. I can go instantly where I want. I hope that made sense. Hope that makes sense. So as I say, not going to cut all this up because it's going to be so boring. So and it's actually quite neat, that, so I quite like that. It's quite neat. I do like the clear. I've always liked the clear, and it's wipeable again, because remember this is watercolour. So I just get that out of the way, because as I say, if I did it all, it would be boring. And of course, the first thing to do is to put the top back on. So I put it like that, and then I push it down. I wouldn't dream of doing that. Now, the only other material that I've not talked about is how you stick your page in. And again, what I do with that is sellotape, because sellotape onto plastic is wonderful. So I lay it flat and I get the sellotape and I go across. I say I don't want to do that with this one because it's not the paper, plus the fact I actually tore this, I didn't cut it. So I want it neat and tidy. Again, it depends on what you want to do. The first one was really rough, but I want this one to be neat because I want it to last me. So sellotape here, and then when you flip it over, it's going to be here, and the last little couple of millimeters is going to be sticky because it's the other side of the sellotape. And then you make sure it's square and you put some more sellotape. So basically you have a strip of sellotape. I wonder if I can show you with this. I don't think I've actually stuck any in, have I? Let's have a look. Every other one should be stuck in. Yeah, if you can see that one. This one is the page because it's the white. This is the page, but the next two, they're on photocopy paper, and the sellotape at this side. See, I did it before I put the paper on. Sellotape, turned it over, sellotape, and it gives a lovely, and it's not going to go anywhere. And then you put your colour on. So you don't put your colour pages in first, you make your pages. Then you stick your colours on, because as I say, I'm going to be making my colours in squares, and I'm going to play with the squares until I get them exactly where I want them, because there are some that I want to try and get on the same one. And again, it's a fiddly thing, but it's something that you need to do, and it's unique to you because it's your colour order. Originally, what I thought about doing, and you could do this, is put all the yellow, because again, when I first, if you will see me first use this book, I will put Neocolor 2. I used to use the Neocolor green, and I would flip to a Derwent pencil for the orange, and I used it for colour and completely ignored what make it was, even though one was a crayon and one was a pencil. These slightly stronger, and of course the peerless. The only one I didn't do was the peerless, but all the others I flipped and I used them as colour. So my first thought was to remake the book and put all the yellows together, so I would have a page of yellows, and there might be Graphitint, Neocolor 2s, and Neos all on the same page. So you could do it that way. So it's in colour order, not in manufacturer's order. The only thing you've got to think about then, you'd have to really think hard when you did your Bible journaling, because any other watercolour based product would go through. But of course, it depends how you work. It depends what you want to use it for. But there's no reason why, if you did it in this order, you couldn't use an orange from the Derwent and then think, actually, I know there's a nice green. And again, you get to use your colours. You get to know your colours more. If you see your colours in a box, they're not the same as seeing them out here and seeing the tones. So again, I use this as a colour reference. So whenever I use a lot of the dark colours, I use these. So I might use the lovely olives in the Neos, but I'll use the Inktense oranges. Or I might use the Derwent yellows. So you can still flip colours, you just keep flipping. The only time to watch about doing that is, to say, when you're using them in the Bible, because they will go through. Or your Hobonichi. Hobonichi paper is the same, I would say, and layout paper. It's quite fine, and some of these colours are just a bit too intense. But again, that's why I'm doing a separate one, so I can have my book like this, but I've got a separate one just for Bible journaling. So that's how you would stick your paper, but as I say, I want to make mine neater, and I was just tearing it roughly to see and have a play, and I hadn't realised that there was this extra page in here. So this is actually quite thick. I like that one. These are flimsy again because I've cut them. Now, do I want to leave them like this and just put one in between? You see, if you put, there's 25 here, so what you could do is, if you didn't want to cut them and have this nice thick nice palette in between each one, we'll work backwards. So what we need to do now is 2 colours, and we need to stick the photocopy page in between every one. So we're not breaking these up. We're leaving them as they are because they're nice. It's nice and it will look neat. But we're putting a piece of colour, we're putting a page between each one, and then we're sticking colour on. So again, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do that. And then my next one, come on, where's my bit of paper? I think I might do that actually. That's my next page, which sticking with sellotape. So you see that's a lot neater. I've got a page and a page. And now I would make these slightly bigger, I think I would make these slightly bigger. So of course on this side I need to put a yellow. So when the page is open like that, I can see 2 yellows. Then I flick that over, and the next one is that one. Sometimes I put these in with the browns, so put that one there, and then of course the next one would be that one. So I've got my oranges. I think, again, you've got 6 oranges, you see, so I'd have 6 oranges and I would have 6 reds. 2 doesn't work for me. It might work for you. Having a page, if you had a very thick book with 70 odd pages, you could have one in each colour, but I just think for what this book is for, we don't need these big squares. But I say it's taken me quite a long time to think about that and to get it wrong, and I think I've got it wrong. I much prefer the 6 colours. So I think that might be, when you turn it, you see, you've got to think when you're turning the page, is this going to be comfortable to use? Is this going to be neat? Am I going to like using it? Because as I say, you can spend all this time making it like I did that one. Thought I'd got really good and clever with it, and for some reason I don't use it. And the other nice thing about this is I won't be overstuffing the book. It will sit lovely because it's designed to have a photograph inside each one, and we are having a piece of paper at either side. Whereas the other way, we're trebling everything because we've got 3 pages in each one. And again, I'm not happy about that thin paper. I like the middle one, but I don't like this flimsy one. So I think I'm going back to my original, and of course it would be that way around, but never mind. So I think I like the feel of this. It's easy to flip. Remember, that's what it's for. You are flipping. And again, you've got to think about this. So, of course, I'd not thought about it, not realised that. And I think I like this way better. And again, that's another thing. You might start something and decide, actually, do you know, I don't like that. So now is the time to stop and rethink about it. Because you really don't want to be making 2 of these, because it takes a lot of effort to scribble the pencil onto here. As I said, there must be about 5 or 6 videos of actually scratching the colour onto them. 3 layers. If you see dust, and of course you'll find that the different pencils react slightly different. Sorry, Alfie's looking. So the Neos went a bit squishy, and I got some bobbles on some. And if you get any bits of Neos, just the Neos, none of the others, but the Neos, if you get any bits, squish them in. If you can see, there's some bits, you squish them in because it's pure colour. You don't want to waste it. And you probably find it was the blues. The blues did it quite a lot as well. The natural colours didn't. And again, that's all to do with the pigment and the binder. But for goodness sake, when you're doing it, you'll find bits come off. Just grind them in with the end of the crayon and they'll just go in, and that's pure colour. Some have got slightly more than others. See, the greys went on lovely. The greys didn't do it, but the greens did. There's quite a lot of lumps on there, can you see? So instead of just throwing them out and brushing them off, but it only works with the Neos. Has anybody got any questions? Sorry. Again, the Graffy tint, the Derwent Graffy tint, if you can see, there's about 3 layers. When you start to see dust, you know the paper's not going to take any more. So one layer one way, one layer the other way, and one layer back. And there's a couple of videos of, and in the original one as well, I also had the water-based, the Derwent water-based sketching pencils. So I had about 12 greys. So as long as anything's water-based and it's good quality, and that means you've got more pigment and less binder, you can put them in a watercolor book. So there's quite a few fairly good quality water-based pencils. I haven't tried these, but I might do. There's some aquatones, and then there was some cheaper ones as well. The aquatones probably will do. The other one that might do is the Derwent art bars, but I'm a bit protective of my art bars, so might not want to put those in. Let's see if we can get this on this piece of paper. I'm just going to try it on watercolor papers. Oh, actually, I could try it on the. Oh no, I don't want it on the back. I could try it on the back of this. So this is what we do to make a square. And then we turn it round, and then we go that way. Oops, you need some colour on it. I think some of these have got. In fact, I might put the aquatones in, because I found a set on eBay. They don't make them anymore, but I did find a set. So again, finding a little bit of dust now. And then by the time you've got over there, you can't see any white. I can't press down very well with this hand. But if you can see that, you've covered the entire space. Hi, Alf. Hello, darling. Alfie's got a new harness. So we've got a little bit of dust there. And then we need water. Hey, darling. Hello. You've been a good boy. He's been asleep on Mama's big bed. So, let's have a look. Just a minute, Alf, darling. Of course, throwing everything in here last night. In here should be a water brush. Yeah, I've got a number 1 Derwent water brush. So come on, that's wet. So do our colour swatch, and then it's a bit too wet, is that? But you get the idea. If you're doing some lovely soft watercolours, so I'm going to put I have a set of these. So again, there's your square. That's the very, very basic, how you do your square, how you do your colour swatch, and then you'd name it aquatone. I don't think there's a number on it, or you put red, because obviously you want to revamp that. And again, I wouldn't do that now, but if I'd used all that. So you've got some nice colour just from a little square there. That's very roughly how you make your squares. But again, you can make them bigger or smaller. Now, the other thing that I probably will do this time, because I didn't do it last time, is to actually cut up the paper into squares. But you colour them first, because they're rather difficult to do, I think. I did them in 6s, didn't I, last time? See, I've done them in 6s. Yes, I think what I would do is I'll cut them all in. What I will do over the week is make the squares. And I did show last time how to make them. So you mark one, and then you can do them like a pack of playing cards, and then your marks go on them. I'll show you how to do that. But that means that once they're all marked and coloured, I can cut them up and put them in the order that I want. Because on this particular one, I will be putting them on the paper. So I just glue them. And the way I glue them is little thin double-sided tape. Oh, this is gone. I've had it too long. Yeah, it's gone. Yeah. I'll have to throw that away. What a shame. Oh, well. I use thin double-sided tape, and I put, if it's the big bit, I put two big bits, two pieces there like that. Because if you destroy a page, you can, or the reason I did it was that at first I didn't think that squares would last. So I thought that if I used one square, and that's why I put them individually, I could just rip it off. So I would literally use that much on the back of a square, and then I could just pull it off. And you see this one is just, the big ones have only got a little bit of tape all the way around. By the time I made this one, though, I realised these squares will last you. But when I first did it, I didn't think that. I hope that makes sense. So again, you learn by trial and error. I didn't expect them to work, so that's why they were on individual ones. And I sat in the sun. I have a lovely memory with my neighbour's dog, who wasn't very well, and I sat with her, and she sat next to me all day in the sun, and I wasn't very well, and I just made my little squares on a tray. So I had all the pencils in a row, and I scratched them and I named them. The only thing I didn't do at that point was the colour swatch, and I had a lovely memory of that. And unfortunately, she passed away that night. But it was a lovely memory that I'd spent a lovely day with her, and we just sat with each other because we were feeling sorry for each other. So again, you know, you pick a nice day or watch TV or can do anything. So I will actually be putting my tones in there. These are a bit cheaper, these Pentel. I don't know if they make these anymore. There's the black. These are Crimson and Blake. They're quite cheapy from the works. But again, if it's a good quality, then if the pigment's good, it will bind and it will stick. I mean, these are yonks old, these. I gave these to the kids years ago. Oh, there is a number on the Aquatone. That's number 46. As you say, these are well bashed and old. But as long as it's a fairly good quality, and of course there's no reason why you can't try them. So I hope that made a bit of sense. That's a very rough, and I wanted to be able to do that, but of course I wanted to do it in a long show, and didn't get a letter about the hospital. My husband got a text about yesterday, or the day before. He got a text to say, don't forget the appointment. And I will be taking this with me. This goes with me to the hospital so that I can colour. So I really would feel better actually starting something from start to finish. See, none of the, I haven't touched these colour books, but the colour books will be right in front of me. And this is the one that I bought. Oh, I must have bought two. Oh, I bought two. Oh no, this is the one I bought yesterday. No, it wasn't. So that would be quite fun to get back to. Completely forgotten that I'd done those. Absolutely completely forgotten. But I did have somebody ask about this book here, and again I completely forgotten and got it. I don't think I've coloured a page in it, have I? No, I took it to bits. I took it to bits because I wanted to colour it and I couldn't get my hand around it. So, oh, I've started. That looks like pastel. Yeah, it's pastel because it's not set. So I've done it in pastel, but interesting. I think they're all, there's a couple I think that are double-sided. So again, if I can't see these books, I don't know they're there, so I'm going to put them right in front of me so that I can, oh sorry, I seem to have got blurred. Just put that to one side. Has anybody got any questions? So I'll do a room tour and then people can see, you can all see what books I've got, because I've forgotten most of the colour books. This is the one I couldn't work out if it was crocodile or not. Quite thick paper as well. I've got Stonehenge there. I thought that was a camel. Oh, it is a camel. It is a camel. You can see the eye. So thanks for joining me, guys. It does tell you about them at the back, doesn't it? There's the grey elephants. Again, you look at a book and absolutely nothing comes to mind. I keep looking at this book and absolutely I don't know what I want to colour it in, which is a bit strange. I started with the pastel because I thought about photorealism. And it's not set, so that's why there's a bit on the other side there, because it's not set. So I could use pastel pencils. I thought of that the other day. Again, I found my pastels, so I can do the husband's brought this up. A lot of these I've not even looked at. This is the Beasts of Tolkien. Again, I don't know why I bought these. I think I like the drawings. I think that's why. I think I like the drawings. I was attracted to the drawings. But I have no inclination to colour them, which is a bit weird. I think I've done one of these. Yeah, I started this one in my... I started this one. Did I do a practice? No, I didn't do a practice, which is unusual for me. This one was the watercolours, my Winsor Newton watercolours, the markers. But I think I was using them from a palette, so I think there's a video on this one. Sorry guys, I've gone off on a bit of a tangent. Again, sometimes you just don't know what to do. Oh, I started colouring that one, but I won't remember what colours I used. Unless they're on a palette. If they're on a palette, I will remember. Put that like, might be able to see the colours. This is why when I start a page, I have to finish it, because... and then I bought the Star Trek ones. I haven't done any of those at all. Bit of a sad girl because I can remember every single one. So I seem to have found lots of colour books that I've not looked at before. So we've got the fairy ones. And I forgot, you see these are single-sided, so again, if I wanted I could use the chameleon pens. Again, you look at the size. I look at the size of what I'm going to use, so chameleon pen would work quite nicely on there because they're not too small and they are single-sided. So again, sometimes you just have to look, assess what you've got and what you're using, and it appears that I've got all sorts of things here. We do have the original colours for this one, so that looks to me like pastel for these pastel work. Now that looks like, oh, it's a seashore, is it? Looks like what's the name, doesn't it? More fairy books. I was a bit disappointed with this one. I've got to be careful because there's some ladies here with no clothes on. I was really disappointed with this one when I bought it. It wasn't what I expected. I expected it to be like this. And it isn't. It's too modern. So I was quite disappointed with this one. And because of that, I didn't look at it. I've used, this has been in another book and I've used that one. This is the chameleon pens ones that I used. So again, some books just do not inspire you at all, which is quite upsetting. I've got a different fairy book but the same. I like the fact that it's a paler grey as well, so I might do an Inktense or Hydrus actually, because again I've got all my watercolours next to me, and I'd found my Hydrus watercolours, so it'll be a mix and match I think. And then I've got Enchanted Fairies, again just not does much for me at all. I think I've coloured one in here. No, I haven't coloured one, have I? No. So sad that you think you're going to love something and you don't. I don't know if anybody else gets that. No, I've got colour books everywhere. I've got colour books. I can't put them in there. So that's another reason that I wanted all the colour books in front of me. I bought this beautiful book and not even looked at it. I think, oh no, this is not to colour, this is about Harry Clarke. I've got to be a bit careful with that one. But I did buy this one. And because of the stained glass window, that kind of inspired me to do the windows in the Abbey. Again, this is another one, architecture. Just cannot think about colour. I think it's because it's reality. And if it's reality, I want to do it perfect. I'm guessing that's why. Whereas the curves and the others, I can just... that was the Derwent watercolour pencils. I think there's 3 videos on this one as well. Really like doing this page. I hope it's not blurred. It looks blurred and it shouldn't. Oh, it's not very good quality, this video. So again, I don't know why. The Kirby's you can pick up and just colour, no problem whatsoever. But when it comes to reality, maybe that's because I'm an artist and I can't do them unless I do them exact. Not exact, photorealism. My camera's not working. I'm just going to have to get these out. They're not working. I think I bought that one twice by mistake. I can take these to the Abbey. I've got the colour books I originally bought for a couple of pounds. I've been taking to the Abbey for people to tear out and colour. I haven't worked in this one for a while either. Ivy and the Inky Butterfly. See if we can get the camera to focus. If not, I'll have to stop, guys, because the video quality is rubbish. Absolutely rubbish. Don't know why it's gone like this. See, it looks all right on there. It looks fine on the camera. But it's all pixelated on the other one. Sorry guys, it's so bad. Let's see if I can just do that a minute. Oh, thank you, Melody. See, on my screen, it's all blurred. Look, on my screen, it's all yuck. And yet, when I look in there, it looks okay. Oh, sugar, sorry, guys. I enjoyed working with all the different watercolours. I think there's videos for each page that I did. I think that's when I broke my rule of just doing a page that I fancied doing. I think I've been working from my little book of watercolours. But I thought I might start making my own paints. This was one of the original ones that I did. And I used oils in this one. Again, these are single-sided. So I used, I wonder if it's because it's going, no. It just lends itself to some wax oil pastels. I thought I had a different one. I really don't like that one. That's pastel, is that one? I thought I had my... I love them because it's wax. They don't come off. So again, sometimes you can find a book that you do like some bright colours. Just don't know why it looks so bad. See if that helps. Oh, thank you, Dana. Thank you. So, again, some of the smaller patterns don't lend themselves to it, but if I don't like something, I'll experiment with colour and pastels and be kind of really kind of not rough, but kind of really use strong colours that I don't normally use, and they are single-sided, but it doesn't really bother me that much. again, I think that book was £1.99. So, and that was the first colour book I bought, I think. Bought all these to do, and again, it's because they're real drawings. I always say that most of these, if I was doing a watercolour or an oil painting, that's about the amount of detail I'd want on there. Maybe probably not some flowers, but definitely the house, the trees, and the only thing I would like to work in with those are the pencils. And the same with the two Disney ones. I'm so frightened to use these. So frightened. I don't know what I've written on here. I've written Derwent watercolour pencils, as in Joanna Basford's Magical Jungle page, blended on the page. But I'm conscious of the fact that I might want to match the colours up. So, really not sure. Because it's a very, very good drawing. It's not exact, but it is a good drawing. Oh, hi Marilyn, welcome to Bunny's Designs. And again, you see, if you want to get all this detail in, then we're talking pastel, really. And when I did the pastel, oh, that wasn't my... He hasn't brought the Harry Potter ones up. But the pastel ones, I think I've used pencil on that. The pastel ones take 8 to 10 hours when I do them. But I'm thinking it's going to be pastel pencil, I think. Yeah. I think it's going to be the Derwent pastel pencils for these books, because I want to match the colours up. I want to match the colours up, and I think in order to do that, I've got to, and we can get the smudgy bits and the bright bits, and so I'm pretty sure that these will be. Alfie, come here. Alfie, good boy. Yes, let me write a note. I'm going to take that off, and I'm going to write pastel pencils, Derwent pastel pencils, because it's the only one I can get reality, photorealism, and I really want to do that. Where is this? If I can get a pencil. So we want Derwent pastel pencils. So that would be good, because I use the pastel pencils in all the reality ones. So, and I was so desperate to work in there. In here we've got the Graphy Tint, the watercolours and the Graphy Tint. That's the Graphy Tint, and again, I love it. Absolutely love those colours. Now, this book was last year's, or I should say the year before's. I should just move the light. Let me turn the light up, see if it will rejiggle itself. No, it's not doing anything to itself, is it? No. I think it's the light. No, Alfie. Alfie, get down, please. or if I can't get this, now that was my first attempt with Derwent pencils. I think this is going to drive me insane. I think it is. That'll brighten up a bit. Just going to turn all the lights out and see if that makes a difference. Let's see if I can just do that a second. Because sometimes it likes to make its own light up. No, it's not. It's not done any different. I wonder why it's doing that. Because it looks perfectly alright on the screen, but on my other screen it looks horrible. Oh. So I love the pencils. It's just not sure if I can use them at all. That's the only thing. So I did like the Graphie Tint. I think I'm more creative when it comes to colours. One thing I have done is at 3 o'clock this morning I bought the 3 Kirby Roseanne books again, and another book I bought again. I photocopy things. This is the other thing I wanted to show really quickly. Oh, which one was that, Dana? Which one was the one with the detail? These are the mushrooms, because I was so frightened to work in this book. I use photocopy paper a lot for, so this is these are the chameleon pens. Now, I really like using the chameleon pens. But if you're not sure, you see what I do is I photocopy things and I have a play. And I was doing that one for someone in pencil. But again, I'm not very clever with pencil. I'm terrible. You must never watch me when it comes to pencils. This is when I did the Gansai Tambia watercolour one. I was looking for... Again, this was the first one that I ever did. Trying to photocopy things and have a play. And then if you make a mess of it, you've not messed up. Oh, that was my mushroom. That was my toadstool. This is for my degree. The inside of a rotting telegraph pole. And they look like skyscrapers. And one of them looked like, I found it. These are really good quality because these are in, and they said it, then it's gone. Where's the Empire State Building somewhere? Which was quite spectacular when it was a photocopy. I've gone off on a tangent, guys, sorry. I didn't think it was white. I didn't think that was the Empire State Building. I thought it was a different one. But I love the mushrooms. So there's toadstools growing in there. It was on the train station. It just reminded me of skyscrapers. I think that's the one, but it's on a different angle. And that was part of my degree, was taking something quite horrid and rotting and painting it, making it beautiful. And that's why the books, the smelly old books, the rotting, well, not rotting, but decaying books, and painting them. So that's where the books came from. I might have to use my mushrooms, my little toadstools. Oh, am I colouring them? Are you? If you've got any, oh, thank you, Marilyn. Thank you. The Kincaid ones, yeah, they do, don't they? I might leave that one out because I'd forgotten about that one. This is what I do, you see. Out of sight is definitely out of mind with me. Sorry, guys. Sorry about that. Oh, dear me. I can't find the Harry Potter books. I think they're downstairs. So these are the books. These are the books. Again, I think these were £1. So I take these to the Abbey to be. I take these to the Abbey for the colours. I destroyed, these are the other ones that I'd bought a long time ago. Again, £1 or £2 I think they were from so I'd forgotten I've got those. Some of them I took to bits. So I take these to the Abbey so people can flip through and decide, you know, they can find out if they want. I think they can have a look. Just wonder what that was. It's a paper. Oh, it's an elephant. I was finding an elephant in your colour book. I'll take those. And then people can, because they're only a few pounds, because the colour books we have at the Abbey are quite expensive. I've bought a couple. These are the ones from the Abbey. I think I've only bought one. Oh, no, I found some more sketchbook paper. Again, always try to photocopy things off. This is my, just my sketching bit here. Colours. Oh, the thing is so bad, guys. I'm getting a bit. There's another Sea White here, extra wet strength, and this one is portrait. It's from York Art Gallery. So you'll probably find if you look at a fairly cheap but kind of good quality, it's a Sea White one. I'm really sorry, guys. It's gone really bad. Oh, hi, Nicotina. Welcome to Bunny's Designs. Anybody else popping in? What did I miss? Did I miss anything? Sorry, guys. Did I miss anything? If you've got any questions, guys, pop them in caps for me. I think I'm going to give up because that looks so bad. I can't believe how bad it looks. I don't know why. It won't focus. It won't do anything. It doesn't like colour. See if that brings it back. I mean, for an iPad, it's pants, really. It's really bad. I thought the iPad would be better, but it's not. So I'm going to put that under there because it's a sketchbook. So I take all these to the Abbey. They want sorting out into proper sections for me. It's a bit of a big thing to hold that. So the one thing I have been doing, I didn't do it for very long. And I don't know where it is now. Must be downstairs. No, it can't be downstairs. Oh dear me. I've lost my sketchbook. That's not very clever, is it? It's my sketchbook. Oh well. That's the only thing. I've been bringing half the things up and half the things not. Hopefully I'll get a bit better in this room. At the minute, I'll show you what it looks like at the minute. So I've got some drawers in the right places, and then I've got a little drawer. So I'm waiting for a big, that shelf there. And then I've got my gorgeous chameleons there, and my Oogie, which I'll be able to tap with a pen and it'll be a lot better. And then my laptop's actually standing upright behind it. Just see if it's in there. I just don't know why it's not focusing properly. So I'm sure it won't take me long to get going, but it just seems there's so many things to move, but Amy's going back from Manchester, so I've got some sketches to do of my mushroom pages, and I did a little flower. I did one flower. It's the first sketch I've done since August. So I did manage to do one little tiny flower. Oh, I'll take that pencil up there now. I can't find my sketchbook. I don't know why. I haven't got my sketchbook here. Whoopsie. Paper everywhere. Oh, hi Caroline, welcome to Bunny's Designs. Anybody else popping in? Oh, sorry you're not well, darling. Get well soon. Just 2 seconds. Sorry guys, I was just getting an update on Jessie, on Jess, and on Jessie Doo-Doos, and oh dear, she's doing quite well as our Jessie Doo-Doos, and she's actually eating wet food. So here she is eating, which is unusual for her because she doesn't normally like anything wet. She eats the gravy and then leaves it, but she actually started to eat wet food, which is really unusual for her. And then this is the boy with his new harness on. Alfie's got a new harness and he's got his wonky eye. Wonky eye. And this was Jessie. So it actually came to me. Actually came up to me. And Bungle's behind her. My messy room. I've rearranged the room. And I've got get all the colour books. Look at all the colour books to come upstairs. There's a lot of junk to come upstairs. So this is little Jess. And she's settled in quite well. She's not keen on toffee and she doesn't like Alfie, but she quite likes Bungle. That's me picking her up, bless her. And she likes that little corner space. When I first put her in the lounge, I hid her behind there. And she sits there and watches everybody and feels safe. But she's not been down there a week yet, so she's doing really well, is our Jess. She's doing quite well. And there she is in that little space. And that's my huge canvas. she's behind the canvas. So yeah, you can see there. They're all colour books, so they've all got to come upstairs. Oh, these are art books, but so then I can get all the art books and bring them all down there. So I'll do a tour of that room, but the girls wanted it to be more of a family room, so we've got the cats in there. And that's the big desk with the pastels in them. So all the big art will be done downstairs, but all the small art. So I've got these huge canvases to do downstairs. So have you got any questions? So Jessie Doodles is doing fine. And this is the little girl. This is the little girl, bless her. And that's in the bedroom at 5. It says she cries, you see. She cries all the time. So she's downstairs and she seems to be perfectly all right, which is quite good because I had to do a bit of tough love with her. And that's her and Toffee. So she just sits there. She sat next to her. That's my huge canvas behind. Took it out, put it in the dining room, and now because she's made a nest behind there, I don't want to move it because it stops her sliding back. Oh, welcome back, Katrina. Welcome back. So thanks for stopping by, guys. Got my headache back again. So I haven't done much with my mushrooms, but I'm having some, instead of line drawings, I'm doing them in grayscale. I don't know what it is about this, whether it's the light. I can't understand why it should just go, unless it's because it's far away. Let's put it down here in a minute. It didn't seem too bad before, so I don't know why it should want to be really bad now. I always want to rearrange everything. I don't know if that's made a difference. Oh dear. Headaches come back again. Oh, I need a little bin in here as well. I haven't got a bin. I wish I had my sketchbook. I thought it was just... I thought I brought it upstairs. What have I got in that one? Oh, I hadn't thought about doing Inktense pencils as a pencil. I wonder, because they'll be stronger, won't they, than other pencils. You see, I've got my beautiful pencils. But I don't think I've got the range to colour that. Oh. I wonder if I could just do that with them. The room is such a mess. Such a mess. Let's see if we can just colour a butterfly in. Again, I don't think I've got colour range here really. That's blue violet, is it? So I think these are quite waxy, these. I seem to have got two missing there, honestly. There's only one, I've only got one red, so and that's a yellow butterfly, that isn't it? That's the brown one. That's like the little one that I had on the end of the see if we can get an orange colour. Oh, they do blend a bit then, these. I've not had a very big play with these because my hands have been quite sore. To learn not to be too precious. Oh, I know it's on a hard surface, so that's why. Sorry, guys. I don't think it's. I think it's still blurred, isn't it, guys? It's not getting any better. It looks so bad. Oh, yeah, sorry, guys. don't know why. I seem to have got... found a blending pencil, haven't I? So I found my Derwent blending pencil, so I just thought I could have a... see what that would do. I haven't used a blending pencil because it works quite well actually. Ooh, that really blends them. I've got a dirty patch on there. Not very clean, so maybe I shouldn't have used that. I've got so many grungy colours on there now. I never thought about blending pencils, but it's something that I don't normally do, so I don't think I'm doing well, guys. I'm going to stop because I think my internet's just so bad at the minute. It really is so bad at the minute. So I'm going to have to call it a day, guys. I'm really sorry because it's just buffeting. Don't know what else to do. I just don't know what else to do, guys. So thanks for stopping by. I'll try and get a video out, and I will try to record another live show. I'll see if I can get the internet, my camera to work. Have a wonderful afternoon, guys. I'm going to get ready to go to the hospital now. But it seems to be thingying. Because it's still, that's what mine's doing, guys. Look, it's just frozen. So sorry, guys. It just, that's all it's doing. Look, it just keeps doing that. And it's so blurred. I don't know what the video will look like. I'm going to have a bit of a play with these. I'll have a bit of a play because I would like to use them. Just hands are a bit pants, but actually that looked quite nice playing about. It was quite nice to do. Do only have one red, so of course that's a bit restrictive, but I can make an orange, and I can can I make a pink? Just very quickly see if I can make a pink. Is it YouTube? Oh dear, yeah, I don't know what it's doing. I think it wants rid of us. It's like, I'm trying to make a couple of videos and see if I can see if we can make some kind of pink. It's not very pink, is it? Not that I particularly want a pink, but it would be nice to have a pink. No, I've got a brown because it's the wrong red, you see. You need the pink red. You need the... I suppose that's a pink, but it's not a pink. It's not letting me do with it what I want to do with it as a pink. Because it's the wrong red, you see. You need the magenta red. Aquanum magenta. You see, that's the brown red, you see. Got some lovely browns there. So thanks, guys. Thanks for stopping by. Have a wonderful afternoon.